The first step to improvement is to be able to identify weakness. And it's no secret that when it comes to Sonic's franchise, his quality isn't the most consistent. In fact, I'm pretty sure if you were to draw a line to graph Sonic's quality, it'd come out like the world's most awesome roller coaster. Luckily, Sonic has been at a high point as of late, with movies and an awesome video game. However, in order to make sure that he doesn't dip again, I think that it's important to look at where he made mistakes. Since the Sonic fanbase is known for being too positive and forgiving of Sonic the Hedgehog, I figured that I should be the one to make arguments where I think the weakest parts of every Sonic game are. Keep in mind that just because I'm identifying the weakness, it doesn't mean that I think the game is bad, it's just what I would change if I could. With that said, let's start off with Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for the Sega Genesis. While being the game to create the identity of the franchise, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 has the unfortunate curse of being the first of its kind. It understandably isn't going to get everything right in one go, and where I think this game slipped up is in its level design. Sonic was built on the premise of going fast, and everything's alright at first when you start playing the game. But then once you get past Green Hill Zone, things start to take a turn. While Green Hill Zone provides the player with hills and slopes in order to show the player that they can use momentum in order to traverse the game, they then send the player into Marble Zone, where the player will be doing a lot of puzzle solving and slow-paced platforming. At first you might be thinking, alright, there's nothing wrong with switching things up a little bit, but the game doesn't really change from there. Spring Yard Zone has you pretty much doing the same thing, and then Labyrinth Zone puts you underwater. It's like Sega tried to do a fusion dance between levels that would suit a platformer that could rival Mario, and a character that could go fast, but then they messed up at the last second to create a horrible abomination. Luckily, it seems that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has learned from a lot of the mistakes in Sonic the Hedgehog 1. The game is built on the premise of using hills and inclines in order to go fast, just like I want to. But the thing I can't stand about this game are its special zones. It's the first of its kind to use the half-pipe structure, which would become a staple in the series. But the problem with its iteration in this game is that it tries to simulate a 3D field using 2D graphics. This made it hard to see what's coming up ahead, and it'd be so frustrating when Tails lost all his rings, causing you to miss the emerald. Sometimes bombs and rings would only appear for a portion of a second, which basically means that you have to memorize these paths in order to pass the levels. Now here's the good news, they fixed these levels in the mobile and Origins versions of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This time they actually used 3D graphics. This makes things way better. Still not buying Origins though. Believe it or not, I actually just played Sonic CD for this video, and I was actually decently surprised with how good it was. But we're not here for positivity, we're here to dog on this game. Where did it slip up? Well, I gotta tell you guys that the time travel shenanigans isn't the most fun thing in the world. The whole point of this game is that Sonic's able to travel through time in order to make a good future in each level. But the process in doing so is so tedious. The first thing you need to do is run past the signpost that sends you to the past. Then what you need to do is keep up a fast speed for a certain amount of time, or else the warp won't work and then the post will be completely wasted. If done correctly, you'll be sent back to the past, where you'll then need to search the entire level for a machine that you need to destroy. After doing this correctly, you'll have successfully created a good future. In the level you're in, that is. You'll need to do this for every single level in the game, by the way. That is, if you want the good ending. This process is way too convoluted and there's so many ways that it could go wrong. First of all, what is the point of the future signpost? There's no point in going to the future, and it's not like there's anything to collect there either. It seems like they only serve as an obstacle to take away your past warp. And I swear that every time I accidentally get a future post, I somehow also accidentally activate it by running for a long amount of time. Normally this is hard and frustrating. And then the robot machines. Because they're hidden somewhere in the level, that means that by the time you've activated your time warp, you might end up having to double back through the level in order to find it. Now wait a minute, there's actually an alternative to this process. If you collect all the time stones, you'll be guaranteed the good ending to this game. Yeah, screw these posts. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles is actually a pretty solid game. It's hard to think of a downside, to be honest. At first, I was just gonna say Michael Jackson, because his copyrights were the stupid reason that we couldn't get some of the original tracks into Sonic Origins. Not that I was gonna buy the game. But if I had to choose anything, I'd say that the mere length of the game tends to wear out the player. Yeah, the game is very long. That tends to happen when you combine two games together. This game lasts a whopping 2 hours, which doesn't sound like a long time, but this is twice the time it takes to beat Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Now this game is very often considered to be the best of the classics, so its plethora of content may be a welcome addition to most players. But those who are just trying to see the true ending of the game may end up getting worn out, especially since you also have to collect all 7 of the Chaos Emeralds. Twice! I have a lot of fond memories of Sonic 3D Blast. Yeah, I remember booting it up on Sonic Mega Collection Plus on the PlayStation 2. I would start it up and then just say, nah, not this game. Similar to Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I'm actually having trouble finding a prominent weakness for this game, but not because it's a solid experience all throughout, more like because it's all so evenly mediocre. The 3D environment was something that the Sega Genesis was just not ready for. But you know what? I'll at least give it points for trying something new. But what I can't forgive is the flicky collecting. Throughout every level, you need to find a certain amount of flickies in order to activate the gate to warp to the next area, and they're hidden inside Eggman robots spread throughout the level. And you need to collect all of them. So instead of feeling like an action, fast-paced 3D platformer to rival Super Mario 64, yes, this game came out after Super Mario 64. This instead feels like a giant game of hide and seek. Hey, I just noticed, I didn't say the line. I didn't say that Sonic had a rough transition to 3D. Ah damn! Sonic Adventure 1, widely considered to be the best 3D entry to the franchise. Or was it Adventure 2? It seems like they're always competing for the top spot. But as good as they may be, everything has a weakness. And this time, I'm gonna do something interesting. I'm gonna start a series. Welcome to episode 1 of Sonic Team adding clunky gimmicks to what is otherwise a solid game. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are pretty fun to play as, but it's once you get to the other 3 characters that the quality of the game starts to spiral out of control. Amy's gameplay is pretty much reaching the goal. There just happens to be a robot chasing you this time. But the problem is that her controls are more stiff than NetherRealm's animations. Gamma has you running around blowing everything up. Alright. And then Big the Cat, don't get me started with Big the Cat. Now, I like the idea of incorporating multiple playstyles into a Sonic game, kinda like how they did with Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, but the way they handled it here is definitely not what I had in mind. Sonic Adventure 2! Yeah, welcome to episode 2 of Sonic Team adding clunky gimmicks to what is otherwise a solid game. Sonic and Shadow's gameplay is definitely some of the best in the franchise, but the other characters, I don't know about them. The mecha characters have you blowing everything up again, except this time you're in a giant chonky tank. And then the treasure hunting stages have been reworked to be a little harder than they were in Sonic Adventure 1, but then some of the stage mechanics are outright painful to deal with. Also, as a little bonus, can I just say that Sonic Adventure 2 has some of the worst animation in the entire franchise? The gameplay animations just lack style or flair, and then the cutscenes just look uncanny. Why are the characters moving like that? Anyway, we can see that even though the adventure games are considered some of the best in the franchise, they still leave a lot to be desired. Alright, I got a little confession to make. I never actually played Sonic Heroes to its completion. So what I'm about to say is bad about it is a combination of the little experience I had with the game and a little bit about what other people have said about the game. So what I've concluded is that Sonic Heroes is a very repetitive game. I actually enjoyed what I played of the game. The controls could be a little better, but they're nothing I'd cry about. But I am a little scared of the idea that in order to unlock the final story, you have to play the same levels in the same order with all 4 teams. Sure, the teams have their differences, but it's not enough to keep the levels feeling fresh every single time. Eventually you're just gonna memorize the stage layouts and then you'll just be going through the motions, so I hope you just really like this game. Oh yeah, I also heard that the special stages are pretty bad, but I haven't been bothered by them yet. But I will say that it's a pain to carry the key all the way to the end of the stage. Alright, that's all I got for part 1 of this little mini-series. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys agree, disagree, or what you think is the weakest part of any Sonic game. Until then, it's D-Jack, and I'll be back.